The vaccine injury taboo has officially been broken. Elon Musk, CEO of Twitter, also known as Chief Twit, chairman of the board at Tesla Motors, what was he, co-founder of PayPal, all of his titles, one of, if not the richest man in the world. It varies, because the price of Tesla stock. So I don't know if he's technically the richest man in the world right now, but he's up there. He has spoken out about vaccine injuries. Not only did he say that after his second Wu flu shot, he felt that he was going to die. That's a quote, or a paraphrase. They're close. He thought he was dying, I think is what he said. He also said that he had a family member who was gravely injured as a result of the Wu flu shot, not the virus itself. His cousin, he claims, had a severe bout of myocarditis, which is, it's not just like, oh, you caught a cold. That is, hey, I have heart problems now. And now I have a history of, cardiac complications. I don't think that is, if you have they talk about, especially the media, when they finally admitted that myocarditis exists, they were acting like, oh yeah, they were sick for a few days. It's like, no, their heart was injured. And that doesn't just go away. Once your heart has had an issue, you're going to be susceptible to more heart problems for the rest of your life. So if you're a young man, if you're 15 to 25 in that age range, and you have myocarditis, you're damn right that your doctor is going to be concerned about that for the rest of your life. And your doctor is going to be telling you, when you're 40, hey, lay off the Cheetos, fatso, because you have a history of heart problems. And so you are at an elevated risk for heart attack later in life than someone who never had myocarditis, like a normal person. And so in telling this story, it's not like, oh, we never knew that there was such a thing as a vaccine injury before Elon Musk told us, and now that Elon Musk told us, well, now everybody knows. No, that's not it. The thing is with vaccine injuries that everyone knows it exists, and everyone knows that everyone else knows it exists, but you're not supposed to talk about it. But now that Musk has, he's paving the way for other people to come in and more credibly discuss this. It wasn't that long ago that if you brought up vaccine injuries at all, you were a quack or a conspiracy theorist. And so I think that Musk tweeting about vaccine injuries, clearing the way for other people to come in and discuss this, is very much in line with what I had been hoping he would do at Twitter, in that, Musk himself is not some superhero. He's not going to save the world, but he's creating a space for dialogue. He's creating a space for dissent. And that's really what it boiled down to, what Musk was saying yesterday. He wasn't saying, hey, vaccine injuries are a problem. He didn't have to say that. He wasn't coming out and saying the jabs should be pulled off the market. He didn't have to say that. All he had to do was say, it's okay to question these things. And once people start questioning them, those conclusions will come out on their own. People will come to that conclusion themselves. We don't need Elon Musk to tell us what to think. And, in that sense, I do respect him. He's not trying to just use his public position to completely micromanage public thought. Although, he certainly has some weak spots. I would offer up the case of Jeremy from The Quartering and, what's her name, Brittany Venti, the e-girl. Those two, perfectly inoffensive people. I don't have really anything to say about either of them one way or the other. I don't have a problem with them. I don't really, I occasionally might watch The Quartering if there's something funny, drama thing going on. But I wouldn't call myself a fan of them or of the Brittany Venti girl. But those two got on the wrong side of one of Elon Musk's pet pundits. And so that pet pundit went to Daddy Elon and said, hey, these people made me mad, and so you need to suspend them. And that's probably how it went down. That's the downside of having, God Emperor Elon controlling Twitter. He is a fallible human being. He's impulsive. But on net, Jeremy from the Quartering getting suspended for insulting some retired video vixen that's small potatoes. The vaccine tweets more than makes up for that 10 times over. And so I'm not going to say that Twitter's 100% a free speech platform. It's not. Neither is Gab. But Twitter is giving ordinary people the opportunity to see and hear dissenting narratives that go against what the regime wants you to think. Now, sure, Elon might still censor some things that he doesn't want people to think. But Elon's not the regime. He's going to censor different things than the regime. Whereas the regime that controls all other social media, they're all going to censor the same things. This is part of my thesis as to why, even before we had the Twitter files or anything like that, that I said that social media censorship was state action. I said, look at what they're censoring. Are they censoring things that make Twitter look bad or are bad for Twitter investors? Is that the common thread between everything that's been censored, by not just Twitter, but the other social media giants? No. It's not like they're just censoring things that go against left-wing orthodoxy or that go against the corporate interests of these companies. Everything that they censor, what it had in common was that it went against the regime's narrative. And so, yes, there were things that, were censored that went against left-wing orthodoxy, like, the gay agenda. And you could point to that and say, look, Twitter's just working on behalf of the gay agenda. But if they were censoring things about, anti-cop stuff or anti-war stuff, what does that have to do with the left-wing agenda? If anything, you would think that the left, in its purest form, is anti-war and anti-cop. Why would they suspend cop watch accounts? The reason? Well, because cop watch accounts and anti-war accounts, just like the anti-groomer accounts, all go against the regime's narrative. And so Musk, even if he censors a bit, if he lets a lot of the stuff that would have been censored by the regime pass through the filter, well then I think that Twitter still holds a substantial value proposition. Good evidence of this is that most of the anti-regime doctors, the dissidents on the jabs who were experts, like Robert Malone, Peter McCullough, Harvey Reish, actually I don't know if he ever had a Twitter account, but Steve Kirsch, all those guys, if they were suspended, they've been unsuspended. They're allowed to now freely advocate their positions on Twitter, which is a big platform. And so even if they're censored everywhere else, we at least have Twitter where these messages are getting through, and they're going to permeate into the culture. Now, the regime has a huge head start on us, but this is, as I said, before the election, this is a game changer that will allow us in the future to counter regime narratives for as long as this is allowed to continue. Now, eventually, I'm sure that the regime will find a way to shut this down, or to get Musk under heel, or to put a leash back on him. But for now, I think we can see him as a temporary ally. Keep in mind that we have the Florida grand jury that's coming up that has been impaneled to look into vaccine injury and pursuing potential criminal charges against the pharma giants. If anything comes out of that, and I have to say, knowing DeSantis's political acumen, I don't think that he would have impaneled a grand jury like this if there wasn't anything that was going to come out of it, because that would just make him look stupid. It will now be able to be freely discussed on Twitter. Because as we saw during, the post-March 2020 censorship regime, it didn't matter if you had even government hearings on these issues, like Ron Johnson had held some hearings and other people. They were censored by YouTube. Posting the clip from C-SPAN would get you suspended. And so I think all of this will lead to the tide changing on the poison jabs. And I think that all of the short-term profits that were reaped, very intentional use of the word reap, by the way, by the likes of Pfizer and Moderna and AstraZeneca and all these other companies, I think that those profits will hang like an albatross around their necks for years to come. Is I think that now that the lid has been lifted on all of this discussion, public opinion is only going to turn against them more and more, especially as people realize how much they were lied to. That's going to make them even angrier than they would have been had they known the truth from the beginning. So, with that said, I hope this doesn't get taken down by YouTube, and I will see you folks back here tomorrow.